Hello, everybody, and welcome to another segment of Spiritology. Um, the title of this particular segment is called Good and Evil Shepherds. Good and Evil Shepherds. And I'm going to read a brief passage from a book, actually. Um, and here it goes. It's chapter 1 of the book of Good and Evil Shepherds. And this particular chapter is entitled The Shepherd of Sheep and the Goat Herder. Sheep are not called by the great shepherd to remain as sheep. The sheep are called to be groomed by the true shepherd until such a time that they can be released to go forth into the world as shepherds themselves. So many have been deceived by an impostor to think that they must remain as sheep throughout all of their earthly days. Their stagnation manifests as spiritual deterioration. They can only know a strange, mentally binding fear and foreboding that they resist with an inner but ever growing hostility. Hence, people enter into the churches as sheep, only to decline spiritually and become transformed into aggressive, stubborn goats. And those goats will devour anything vile and unclean for nourishment. Their master has told them that he and they are good and the remainder of the world is evil. They fail to realize that to believe in the evil of others is to be evil and instill wickedness into their own hearts that cannot be uprooted. Their truest shepherd is Azazel, the scapegoat. As a consequence, the goats are sacrificed on behalf of and instead of their shepherd. They must continuously live, they must continuously give to their master and expect never to receive. Azazel has tricked his congregations that they must remain corralled in his stables that are now referred to as mosques, synagogues, temples, cathedrals, and church houses. They must be as goats and are required to call themselves sheep. They must master the art of subtle lies, and they easily do. Azazel tells them to come periodically to the church houses to be fed. They come and he provides them with fluff, and they begin to starve. But the true shepherd gives his flock water to drink from an eternal wellspring, that when they have ingested enough of the truth, an eternal wellspring begins to form within, until such a time that it is fully formed and begins to flow and nourish their beings forever. They become self nourishing and self sustaining, as is the Good Shepherd. They become as gods themselves. The sheep that have drank the waters from the shepherd's eternal wellspring to the point of saturation become shepherds. They cannot remain as gullible, naive sheep. When full, they need not drink any longer, for they are now eternal. They are heaven bound, whereas the goats are initiated into the depths of hell, that is the grave. The scapegoats are the religious ones who have been tricked by generations after generations of deep seated falsity and willful backwards interpretations of scriptures and holy books. They go and they are made to give of themselves for the lifeline of their goat herder, Azazel, whereas the good shepherd tends to his sheep to give them his very own life. The goat herder corrals his herds only to consume them. He leads them astray and into the jaws of death. They mindlessly follow and they aggressively resist whomever would show them the true light. They grow bitter over the years, and at some point they lose the will to desire understanding of the true light. Their bodies get weak and deteriorate, submitting to all manner of sickness and disease. Azazel has handed them over to the demon, affliction, the raven. Their struggles are both internal and external, mental and physical. The goat herder has ensnared their minds and laid siege to their bodies. The good shepherd has freed the minds of his sheep. Their open minds and receptive mentalities give way for their spiritual expansion. Their bodies are revitalized with youth and vigor, and they know no suffering. Disease and emotional turmoil are as a distant, vague memory that they cannot ever be conscious of. They suffer no more. They are healthy and strong. They are spiritually awakened and mentally stable. The flocks of the Good Shepherd are few and scattered abroad. The herds of Azazel are many. They are densely concentrated. They are everywhere. The goats have been trained to entice others into the corrals of Azazel with threats of eternal punishment. The goats deceive them, and they that are required, the goats deceive them and say they are required to suffer unto their master. The good shepherd does not desperately chase after others to enlarge his flock, for everything and all creatures belong to him anyway. All of his sheep belong to him because a divine recognition was stirred up from within. They went to him freely of their own will. That's the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2 is a short one, so I'll go ahead and read that. In chapter 2 is entitled The House of Taxidermy. Everyone that goes to the Good Shepherd are not all accepted, for he knows their hearts and motives for coming. Most of them go to him for worldly motivations, and they are the ones that are rejected, whom Azazel collects, as does a big game hunter finds trophies. The goats shall dwell in the house of Azazel for all eternity, as does a slaughtered and stuffed animal finds its ultimate fate in the house of taxidermy. Their heads shall be mounted upon walls of agony. Their confinement is their eternal punishment. Their flesh shall be penetrated by wasps, scorpions, and mosquitoes. The worm and maggots shall consume them from the inside out. The crows will relentlessly peck at their eyes. They will crave nourishment, but receive none. They will cry out unto their master for deliverance in vain, for they shall look in hard to discover that their master, the demon, has suffered an even worse fate. They will see him, Azazel, in the fiery pit below. Their former master will lift up his arms and cry out unto the goats to lift him up, but they will not be able to reach unto him because they have been permanently sealed to the walls of agony. They will watch in amazed horror and ponder, is this the one who deceived us? Could this be the demon that masqueraded as an angel of light? They will know and understand that they were deceived. They will lament for all eternity because they purposely denied the Lord of the light. They refused to be truly delivered because the worldly gains did not seem attractive enough. They have set their faces against his eternal life for a temporary worldly thrill. Their temporary twisted thrills have ushered them into eternal damnation. And that's the end of chapter 2. Hope you enjoyed that reading. It's from a book I found, and it's a very interesting book. If you have any questions or comments or concerns about it, just go ahead and make a comment or put your question in the comment section and I will happily answer. But again, thank you for listening to this segment of Spiritology. And again, I'd like to get 1,000 likes. So if you can invite somebody to like the Church of Spiritology here on Facebook, that would be great. But again, thank you and God bless.